was a bully. His daddy was a bully. All his cousins was bullies.
I have the solution to fixing the world's negativity problem right now. And I think that is to bring back bullying.
DID says something. Bring back bullying.
They should get bullied. If someone's out of shape and they won't go to the gym, they should get bullied. If someone's being lazy and won't go out and find a job, they should get bullied.
Some trends are cringy, and others are downright horrendous. The bring back bullying trend is one of them. And it may seem shocking, but yes, there are many supporters of this trend on TikTok and YouTube, from Peyton Pyper literally getting banned because of it, to some framing it as constructive criticism. This trend has sparked considerable drama, controversy, and backlash, leaving us to wonder why anyone would ever promote such a thing. And all of this leads us to the beginning. What started as a sarcastic catchphrase, bring back bullying, has now become one of TikTok's most unsettling viral trends. At first, it floated around as dark humor, aimed at roasting poor fashion choices, delusional confidence, or out-of-touch influencers. But over time, the phrase lost its irony. By late 2024 and into 2025, creators began using it unironically, discussing something and casually dropping, "See, this is why bullying should have never stopped." Or else some would make full videos and streams focusing on this trend and persuading everyone to join it. One of the most notorious promoters of the trend was Peyton Pyper, a minor and self-proclaimed unfiltered voice on TikTok. He frequently posted inflammatory content that mocked marginalized groups, including members of the LGBTQ+ community.
I wish I met Lily Tino in person so I could misgender him. Like pointing the camera at people. Are you going to say that to the camera? What's your name? Yes, I will. Lily Tino, you're a man. My name is Peyton. What's up?
He also popularized controversial takes like bring back beating children and unfiltered thoughts that will get me banned, eventually leading to his actual suspension from the platform. Still, his videos generated millions of views, along with supporting comments that showed how deeply the algorithm rewards controversy over conscience. The platform structure makes it worse. TikTok thrives on constant posting and emotional extremes. For younger, uneducated creators chasing virality, bullying becomes content, flashy, politically incorrect, and algorithm-friendly. There's no incentive to pause or research, just perform, post, repeat. And the impact was devastating. Many of the people targeted by these trends are already vulnerable: queer teens, neurodivergent users, and those dealing with visible disabilities. They become the punchlines of a digital joke they never agreed to. What was once a warning is now a mantra, and the consequences are far from funny.
When I get back, I'll lay around, then I'll get up and lay back.
The phrase bring back bullying hinges on a false premise that bullying ever disappeared. It didn't, it just changed form. In schools, it may no longer look like bloody noses and locker shoves, but online, it's constant, shapeless, and harder to escape. Cyberbullying, doxing, and anonymous hate messages have replaced the physical aggression of past generations. And unlike before, the audience is global.
They need to bring bullying back. I keep seeing people on TikTok who are very cringe. The reason they're so cringe is because no one bullied them out of it.
But I definitely think like bullying is needed in the household more than at school. It builds up a little bit of character.
The idea that Gen Z is too soft or needs to toughen up has become a popular narrative online. But statistics prove otherwise. A 2022 Pew Research study found that nearly 59% of teenagers experience some form of online harassment, with LGBTQ+ youth reporting the highest rates of sustained abuse. These are not isolated jokes. They're part of a cultural undercurrent that normalizes cruelty for engagement. The current TikTok trend glamorizes bullying as if it were a corrective tool, a way to make people self-aware. But this ignores the reality that bullying has never had noble outcomes. It breaks trust, instills long-term self-esteem issues, and teaches people to fear vulnerability. Those who claim bullying is necessary for character development often forget that many victims never fully recover. They carry the weight into adulthood, often in silence, or worse, death. So when influencers joke about bringing it back, they're not reviving anything. They're just giving it a new face to an old wound, one that's never healed. The lie isn't that bullying is bad, it's pretending it ever left, and worse, suggesting its return would somehow make things better. Moreover, bullying isn't a phase. It's a psychological injury that often outlives the environment where it began. For many victims, the bullying may stop, but the effects don't. It is repeatedly shown that those who experience chronic bullying in childhood and adolescence are significantly more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, trust issues, and PTSD-like symptoms in adulthood. According to a study published in Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and Mental Health 2025, across multiple countries, found that adolescents who experienced bullying had significantly higher odds of mental disorders, with risk ratios ranging from about 2.17 to 4.71, depending on location and severity. What makes bullying so damaging is the repetition, the isolation, and the helplessness. When someone is repeatedly targeted, it reinforces a sense of worthlessness and teaches them that they're powerless to stop their own pain. This perception lingers long after the teasing ends. Online platforms like TikTok often trivialize bullying by dressing it in humor, sarcasm, or tough love. But for the people who lived through it, there is nothing abstract or amusing about it. These are unresolved traumas. In short, bullying is a mental health crisis with a long tail. And if we continue treating it as a joke or a phase, we risk re-traumatizing millions who already paid the price in silence. The phrase tough love and lack of bullying is often thrown around like a cure-all, especially in online spaces promoting controversial ideas like bring back bullying. The idea suggests that harsh criticism, public shaming, or emotional discomfort somehow builds resilience. But for mental health experts and trauma-informed researchers, that belief is dangerous. Online creators like Peyton Pyper have echoed these sentiments under the guise of real talk, supporting trends that promote bullying and physical punishment, claiming it's for society's benefit, but the numbers say otherwise. A 2023 CDC survey found that over 40% of high schoolers felt persistently sad or hopeless, many citing ridicule and bullying as key causes. Mental health doesn't thrive in cruelty. It thrives in compassion, understanding, and safety, the very things tough love often removes. There's a growing sentiment online, especially around trends like bring back bullying, that bullies should be bullied back. That somehow, if the aggressor feels the same pain they caused, it'll balance the scales. Maybe it's good in a sense because it practically drives the bullies away, and that's what's happened to Peyton. Peyton, who once loudly supported bringing back bullying and mocked others online, eventually found himself on the receiving end. After a viral clip exposed his hypocrisy, the backlash was swift. He was flooded with hate, mocked in the same way he once encouraged, and eventually broke down on a live stream, visibly upset and unable to handle the pressure.
I'm having a mental breakdown because my whole community is attacking me.
Not long after his account was banned for repeated violations. The irony wasn't lost on viewers. The same internet that he weaponized turned on him without mercy. But there's another side to the picture as well in this regard. The research and lived experience tells a different story. Retaliation doesn't heal trauma, it compounds it. And once again, Peyton's example fits here perfectly. Who brought back bullying just after being bullied himself, but that never solved his problems. Before Peyton Pyper became a name tied to controversy, unfiltered rants, and polarizing hot takes, he was something else entirely, a teenager facing relentless bullying. Archived posts and early live streams show a much different version of Peyton. In 2021 and 2022, before he blew up on TikTok, Peyton had been openly mocked for his appearance, speech patterns, and even his mental health disclosures. And then something changed. Rather than disappear, Peyton adapted, some would say weaponized, the very tactics used against him. He began leaning into the mess, firing back with sarcasm, building an audience off his ability to seem unbothered. But the most jarring shift came when he started targeting others the same way he had once been targeted, mocking people's looks, calling out strangers, and building an identity around being real at any cost. That's the irony and tragedy of it all. The bullied became the aggressor, and audiences rewarded the transformation. His pain was never healed, just redirected. And in that reversal, The internet gave him what it hadn't before: attention, loyalty, virality. But trading empathy for entertainment doesn't fix anything. It distorts the cycle, reinforces harm, and blurs the line between survival and cruelty. When people say Peyton changed, they're not wrong, but they're missing the why, and what it says about a digital world that punishes vulnerability but applauds rage. Thus, when victims of bullying turn into aggressors themselves, the cycle is reinforced rather than being broken. A growing body of evidence shows that teens who both experience bullying and engage in retaliation, often called bully victims, face deep, long-lasting emotional consequences. In fact, a 2024 umbrella review of dozens of meta-analysis concluded that cyberbullying victimization consistently predicts anxiety, depression, loneliness, low self-esteem, and emotional distress. What begins as a form of self-defense can quickly become a learned behavior, hardening into the very thing that once hurt them. It's also a moral misstep. The idea that pain must be paid back with pain frames justice as punishment instead of resolution. Psychological experts emphasize restorative practice, like mediation and empathy building, not retribution. The hurt people sentence is a behavioral reality. Worse, when public figures or creators like Peyton Pyper support trends that glamorize bullying, even as a form of ironic justice, it muddies the line between accountability and cruelty. Viewers, especially minors, may interpret it as permission to harm others under the guise of making things even. Bullying doesn't fix bullying, and no one is truly healed by becoming the thing they once feared. Empathy, structure, and education, not revenge, are what dismantle the roots of cruelty. Anything else just keeps the pain circulating. This form of normalized abuse is especially common in environments like schools, sports teams, military training, and even family households. Online, this logic now fuels toxic trends. Creators use trauma as a badge of authority, promoting toxic ideologies that punch down on already vulnerable groups. Sean Holmander, for example, has leaned into this rhetoric, saying that while bullying made him conscious about his physique, it also helped him lose weight. According to him, bullying should be back in schools because it helps youngsters. But the fact is, by reframing bullying as character building, the pain is recycled instead of resolved.
I think we should bring bullying back. I think it should be mandated in schools that we have to bully every kid a certain amount. Because when I was growing up, I got fat shamed hard. I got bullied a lot because I was overweight. And I spent all these years like, man, screw everyone. Everyone's a jerk. Why are people so mean? And then one year I go, what if I just lost the weight? What if I just got in good shape? And I did that. And not only did I stop getting bullied, I actually felt amazing. I felt super confident. That was the biggest life change I ever made for myself. Like literally on a terms, like my baseline happiness was like 3 times higher. I was depressed all the time. I was literally like in therapy at 13. And then when I decided to change that around, I never needed therapy again. I never got bullied again. And then I became like the captain of the football wrestling team. Like my life just became good. So I think we need to mandate bullying and bring it back. That's my take.
The truth is, past pain does not justify present harm. Passing on cruelty only delays healing, for both the bully and the victim. The cycle can only be broken when someone chooses empathy over ego, and when communities stop mistaking endurance for endorsement. Breaking the cycle of bullying means refusing to adopt its tools, even when the target deserves it. It means remembering that accountability isn't a performance, and it's not about punishing someone until they disappear. It's about changing behavior, not destroying people. Because when we fight fire with fire online, it's not just the subject who gets burned, it's the culture, the comment sections, and the kids watching. So ask yourself, are you confronting a bully, or just becoming a more popular one? At the heart of every bullying controversy, whether in schools, on social media, or in viral creator culture, is a simple truth that's often forgotten. No one deserves to be humiliated to prove a point. No matter their beliefs, flaws, or behaviors, every person has a right to dignity. And when that line is crossed in the name of tough love, discipline, or entertainment, the damage is ethical.
So I don't think that promoting bullying because it made you, I don't know, look a little bit skinnier is a great thing to say, because it's not. And that's a harmful rhetoric to spit to someone, to say that, yeah, bullying is amazing because I lost 20 pounds from it. That's harmful.
From a legal and psychological perspective, dignity is a human right. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948, explicitly states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Humiliation, public shaming, and targeted cruelty, especially toward vulnerable groups, are violations of that principle, even if they happen in digital spaces. Online creators who participate in or amplify bullying under the guise of real talk or mental toughness often cross this line without realizing the full impact. Laughing at a person's pain, mocking breakdowns, disabilities, or trauma is not content, it's cruelty. And no one deserves it, regardless of how they act or what community they belong to. Empathy must remain non-negotiable. We can criticize, disagree, or educate without stripping someone of their humanity. The moment we believe someone had it coming, we lose sight of the basic decency that holds society together. Rights and dignity are not rewards for good behavior, they're the baseline of any humane world.
This is the neighborhood, and you are not welcome.
That's why I need to be here. You need Jesus, man.
In every wave of bullying, online or offline, one pattern repeats with brutal consistency. The most vulnerable are hit the hardest. Whether it's neurodivergent teens, LGBTQ+ youth, individuals with disabilities, or those already struggling with mental illness, the bullying trend rarely punches upward. It finds the easiest targets and keeps going until there's silence or collapse. What makes this worse is how performative cruelty gets normalized online. Viral videos mocking tics, body image, or emotional responses rack up millions of views and rarely face consequences. In these digital spaces, the line between entertainment and exploitation blurs. The bullied become punchlines. Social media algorithms amplify what gets engagement, and unfortunately, pain performs. Clips of someone crying, reacting, or breaking down often outperform calls for empathy or understanding. Vulnerable individuals become content. This isn't accidental, and unless platforms, creators, and audiences consciously resist this cycle, the damage compounds. Protecting the vulnerable shouldn't be seen as censorship or oversensitivity, it's a basic responsibility. When cruelty becomes trendy, those already on the edge are the ones pushed over it. Designed to maximize watch time and engagement, the Platforms for You page often ends up pushing the most emotionally charged, polarizing, or outrageous content. Unfortunately, this frequently involves bullying, humiliation, and exploitation disguised as humor. This isn't just an accident of scale, it's the byproduct of a system optimized for engagement over ethics. And until TikTok changes what it rewards, cruelty will remain viral by design. The machine doesn't care about context, it cares about clicks. And that's a dangerous foundation for a platform dominating teen culture.
I'm making thousands of dollars off of pissing you bitches off because you're so easy to make mad. I literally have never been on the internet and seen somebody say something. I'm like, oh my God.
What used to be called trolling is now repackaged as being real. Across TikTok, YouTube, and podcasting platforms, creators have turned rage bait into a monetizable persona, branding themselves as just honest, but beneath the anti-censorship aesthetic lies a calculated business model. Provoke, go viral, repeat.
Other opposed side of this platform that focuses more on rage bait takes and flashy, politically incorrect phrases. And I think that's in an effort to drum up negative reactions to increase engagement.
Instead of offering genuine vulnerability or challenging ideas, many creators deliberately lean into controversial takes on gender, race, mental health, or personal appearance, not to start conversations, but to farm reactions. Every angry stitch, hate comment, or repost drives up engagement. And thanks to algorithmic design, that engagement translates into reach and revenue. The unfiltered label becomes a shield. It's how they deflect criticism by claiming they're just saying what others are too scared to say, and that the people who are not bullied are the ones at fault. And when backlash comes, it's repurposed as proof of their bravery. But in reality, it's just marketing.
For too long have we allowed these degenerates to roam free. For too long have we allowed these degenerates to go unchecked. We cannot allow this to continue any longer. Society is crumbling around us.
As digital platforms reward controversy and conflict over accuracy and empathy, creators who master rage bait rise fastest. It's not always about what they believe. It's about what'll spark the biggest reaction. And in that economy, empathy is expensive, but outrage is free and profitable. Peyton Pyper didn't invent controversy marketing, but he quickly mastered it. Known for his sharp tone, divisive takes, and delivery, Pyper went from a niche TikTok presence to a central figure in the viral hate economy, where creators grow by being widely disliked. In this economy, outrage is a currency, and every negative stitch, comment, or reaction only boosts visibility, and Pyper took advantage of it.
They're doing it because he's just so fucking mean. Like, he sits on TikTok all day just making fun of literally anybody he can.
What's particularly telling is how this playbook has become increasingly common. Pyper represents a broader trend. Influencers who don't try to be liked, only noticed. Instead of building a loyal fan base, they build a hate following. Controversy becomes the brand. But in the process, real harm is caused, especially when the targets of that content are vulnerable individuals. In the viral hate economy, ethics rarely matter. What counts is reach. And if you can make enough people angry enough to keep watching, the system says you win. So creators have been going out of their way just to ignite fury and controversy. What starts as internet slang often evolves into something darker. The Karen stereotype, once aimed at entitled behavior, quickly turned into a caricature applied broadly to middle-aged white women, regardless of context. It became shorthand for mockery, outrage, and public shaming. But the deeper danger isn't just the nickname, it's the normalization of dehumanizing language online. Generalizing people based on race, gender, or age, whether for a laugh or a viral moment, sets a foundation for real-world consequences. Anti-Asian hate during the COVID-19 pandemic followed a similar trajectory. Jokes, slurs, and stereotypes that circulated freely on social media platforms helped fuel public hostility, verbal harassment, and physical assaults. Hashtags were paired with mocking videos. Kung flu jokes turned into threats. Words bled into action. Researchers have long warned that language used online shapes social norms. When entire groups are painted with a broad mocking brush, empathy erodes. It becomes easier to justify cruelty and harder to recognize bias. In both cases, whether calling someone a Karen for expressing concern or mocking Asian people for wearing masks, the issue's the same: stripping individuals of nuance, humanity, and context. The result is a digital culture where outrage is profitable, and dehumanization gets rewarded with engagement. Stereotypes aren't harmless memes, they're the building blocks of bias. And when left unchecked, they enable discrimination in everyday life, online and off. The internet may amplify humor, but it also amplifies harm. Recognizing that difference is no longer optional.
What's your name? Karen. Karen? Yeah, go sit down. Wait, what's your ethnicity? Mexican? They're taking our jobs and our names.
For decades, the LGBTQ+ community has been targeted through laws, slurs, violence, and systemic exclusion. The AIDS crisis, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and marriage bans weren't isolated moments. They were part of a larger pattern of institutional and cultural rejection. But in recent years, just when visibility and rights seemed to be gaining traction, the attacks have returned with new force and a new platform. Social media has become a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's allowed queer voices to find each other, build support systems, and mobilize. On the other hand, it's made them easier to target. LGBTQ+ creators, especially trans and non-binary individuals, are often bombarded with coordinated hate campaigns. Algorithms push controversial content higher, making rage profitable and leaving marginalized people more exposed. Offline, the backlash is no better. Anti-trans legislation in the U.S. has surged. Book bans disproportionately target queer stories, and online rhetoric increasingly echoes dangerous tropes, suggesting that LGBTQ+ existence is indoctrination or a threat. For young gay individuals growing up online, it means watching their identities framed as controversies.
What's your name? Todd, Dan, Dron, Drew, Steve? Javier? Oh, I f***ed that up.
Socially, bullying rewires how people see themselves and others. Victims often grow to distrust peers, avoid new connections, and second-guess basic social cues. When bullying occurs online, where there's no safe space, no school bell to signal a break, it becomes omnipresent. That constant exposure builds a state of hypervigilance, where even kindness is suspect. Perhaps most damaging is how society still downplays the severity. We talk about resilience as if surviving trauma is the same as healing from it. But the data doesn't lie. Modern bullying leaves lasting scars, both visible and invisible. Dismissing bullying as just part of growing up is dangerous, because for too many, the effects never end when the school year does. It can just be referred to as the boys being boys phrase related to bullying, which seriously undermines what's happening beneath the surface. Viewers aren't off the hook either. Every comment, quote, tweet, and reaction adds fuel to the fire, often giving harmful content a longer lifespan and bigger reach. Virality isn't neutral, it's power, and that power is increasingly wielded by those least concerned with the consequences. So when we ask why creators keep pushing boundaries or why harmful trends keep resurfacing, the answer is simple: because it works. But at what cost? A digital world where being decent is drowned out by being divisive. Virality isn't free. We're not just the ones making profit. For years, tech companies have positioned themselves as neutral intermediaries, just the pipes through which content flows. But in reality, platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram are far from neutral. Their policies shape what's allowed and what's ignored. And their inaction, especially around harmful content, often speaks louder than any community guidelines ever could. Section 230 of the U.S. Communications Decency Act protects platforms from being legally liable for user-generated content. But morally, ethically, that's a different story. When content known to cause real-world harm, bullying, harassment, or even suicide is amplified by an algorithm and monetized by the platform, responsibility can't just fall on the users. Some youth creators, especially those under 18, are filmed during meltdowns, medical episodes, or emotional breakdowns for views. Their worst moments become internet content. While adults have the agency to set boundaries, and even then many don't, children often don't fully understand the permanence or consequences of going viral. And some parents don't just allow it, they exploit it. In traditional entertainment, laws like the Coogan Act protect child actors from financial abuse. But online, influencer kids exist in a legal gray zone. Their faces bring in millions, but there's no guarantee they'll see any of that money when they grow up. Even worse, they can't control how they're portrayed, edited, or perceived by an audience that can be cruel, obsessive, or predatory. There's no single button to fix the internet, no update that patches cruelty or AI that filters out every ounce of harm. But three things remain our strongest defense: education, empathy, and online literacy, and many people are actually working on it.
We wanted to create a video that was serious because the subject of bullying is serious, but also presented in a way that was accessible and fun, that was a bit crazy, a bit quirky, and entertaining, and at the same time dealing with the very serious issue of bullying.
It starts in schools, but not just with cyberbullying assemblies or outdated "don't talk to strangers online" warnings. Kids need real digital education, how algorithms work, how content is amplified, how anonymity can distort empathy. They need to understand that what you post lives forever, and what you engage with shapes what the world sees next. Peyton, another influencer, accomplished this task when young students listened to his video and expressed their views about bullying.
When I saw video footage of the kids at the Eureka Primary School in Byron Bay in New South Wales, Australia, singing along to When They Go Low, watching the video and talking about how the song has affected them and how it's allowed them to open up a form of communication about bullying.
Empathy, too, is teachable. When users see a stranger not just as content, but as a full person with a life, family, and feelings, that's when cruelty loses its thrill. The internet needs fewer call-outs and more conversations, less moral grandstanding and more listening. And online literacy is the skill no one's taught, but everyone needs. Without literacy, users get played by outrage cycles, by rage baiters, and by platforms profiting from our attention. But then there are those too who attain the opportunities like the Prevent Bullying Month to raise awareness and do something about the issue. It's interesting to know too that Peyton, who is active in this cause, was also a victim of bullying, but he did not resort to what Pyper did.
I didn't tell anybody at school. I didn't reach out to any of my teachers. I just endured this bullying, and I never felt comfortable to say anything about it because I felt embarrassed about it. I want to send out a message to everybody around the world that if you've experienced bullying, or if you are yourself somebody that has been a bully, maybe you're a bully now, this is an opportunity for us to talk about it. We can stand up and make sure that no kid in this world feels alone, feels helpless.
Real solutions won't trend. They won't go viral. But they would actually protect people, because this isn't just about kids making edgy jokes or influencers pushing limits. It's about whether we, as a society, are preparing the next generation to survive and thrive in a digital world where kindness is countercultural. And if we don't start teaching now, the next Peyton Pyper is already uploading, as it all often begins with laugh. It can be a skit, a meme, or a sarcastic remark framed as harmless humor. But the line between comedy and cruelty is thinner than what most people realize. What once stayed within the boundaries of late-night TV or niche internet forums is now broadcast to millions, stripped of nuance and accountability. Content creators like Peyton Pyper operate within this blurred space. Their videos often present themselves as satire or commentary, but in reality, they frequently cross into mockery and targeted harassment. When faced with criticism, the common defense is predictable. It's just a joke. This phenomenon is not new. Historically, humor has often been used as a disguise for hate, from minstrel shows to racist impersonations. These forms of comedy desensitize audiences while dehumanizing their targets. On platforms like TikTok and YouTube, such behavior is not only tolerated, but often rewarded through likes, shares, and sponsorships. However, Reddit threads have often shown them for what they really are. Humor can be powerful and thought-provoking, but when it consistently punches down and causes harm, it stops being funny. It becomes cruelty disguised as entertainment, and that has consequences far beyond the comments section. In the pursuit of views, too many creators have forgotten the human cost behind their content. Going viral has become a goal so intoxicating that it often overrides basic empathy. For some, the perfect thumbnail or outrage clip is worth more than a stranger's dignity. But what's often left out of that conversation is the psychological toll it takes on the people at the receiving end.
Bring back bullying, except I used to have to leave classes halfway through to go cry in the toilets because I could hear people behind me talking badly about me. Bring back bullying, except my friends and the internet bullied the size of my lips so badly that I felt like I had to get lip filler as soon as I turned 18. Bring back bullying, except I used to stay up all night wondering if anyone would even notice if I wasn't here anymore.
The internet doesn't always see the panic attacks, the sleepless nights, or the long-term mental health damage that follows public humiliation. It just sees the numbers ticking up, and creators, intentionally or not, become complicit in reducing real people to punchlines for entertainment. The rush of virality may be fleeting, but the impact on someone's mental health can last for years. As this behavior continues to be normalized, the future of digital culture begins to look alarmingly bleak. If left unchecked, this pattern of algorithm-fueled cruelty will evolve into something even more destructive. Already we're seeing a shift where creators target increasingly vulnerable individuals just to maintain attention. The line between entertainment and exploitation is already blurring. In a few more years, that line may disappear completely. That's why this trend must be stopped now, before it ends someone entirely. What begins as a bit or a joke can spiral into real-world tragedy. We've seen it before. Teens driven to self-harm after becoming meme fodder, creators overwhelmed by hate campaigns, individuals permanently branded by out-of-context clips. One person shared a similar incident saying, "A young trans girl at my conservative school came out to her friend who spread it to everyone, bullied into suicide. Her older sister, my friend, never recovered. It's been years now." it's real. And yet audiences still share, still comment, still reward this cycle. Ending the trend isn't about silencing creators or policing humor. It's about recognizing that at some point, cruelty stops being content. It becomes complicity. The next time a video surfaces designed to ridicule, harass, or dehumanize someone for clout, pause. Ask whether the laugh is worth someone else's breakdown. Because if creators and platforms don't start taking responsibility now, the consequences can be life-altering. And by then, it won't be enough to say we didn't know better. We did. If you believe creators should be held to a higher standard and that no one's mental health should be sacrificed for clicks, then like, subscribe, and help push back against the culture of viral cruelty.